Had a brief mommy interruption. Okay. He had not been right on his feet since the war. But back at the Starbus band shell with Marguerite, there Eddie had still been graceful. He closed his eyes and allowed himself to summon the song that brought them together. The one Judy Garland sang in that movie. It mixed in his head now with the cacophony of crashing waves and children screaming on the rides. You made me love you. Whoosh. Do it. I didn't want to do a splash. Me love you. Eee. Time you knew it, and all the swish knew it. Eddie felt her hands on his shoulder. He squeezed his eyes tightly to bring the memory closer. 12 minutes to live. Excuse me. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, stood before him, blocking his sunlight. She had blonde curls and wore flip-flops and denim cutoff shorts and a lime green t-shirt with a cartoon duck on the front. Amy, he thought her name was. Amy or Annie? She'd been here a lot this summer, although Eddie never saw a mother or father. Excuse me, she said again. Eddie maintenance? Eddie sighed. Just Eddie, he said. Eddie. Uh-huh. Can you make me... She put her hands together as if praying. Come on, kiddo, I don't have all day. Can you make me an animal? Can you? Eddie looked up as if he had to think about it. Then he reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out 3 yellow pipe cleaners, which he carried for just this purpose. Yes, the little girl said, slapping her hands. Eddie began twisting the pipe cleaners. Where's your parents? Riding the rides. Without you? The girl shrugged. My mom's with her boyfriend. Eddie looked up. Oh. He bent the pipe cleaners into several small loops, then twisted the loops around one another. His hand shook now, so it took longer than it used to, but soon the pipe cleaners resembled a head, ears, body, and tail. A rabbit? The little girl said. Eddie winked. Thank you. She spun away, lost in that place where kids don't even know their feet are moving. Eddie wiped his brow again, then closed his eyes, slumped into the beach chair, and tried to get the old song back into his head. A seagull squawked as it flew overhead. How do people choose their final words? Do they realize their gravity? Are they fated to be wise? By his 83rd birthday, Eddie had lost nearly everyone he cared about. Some had died young, and some had been given a chance to grow old before a disease or an accident took them away. At their funerals, Eddie listened as mourners recalled their final conversations. It's as if he knew he was going to die, some would say. Eddie never believed that. As far as he could tell, when your time came, it came, and that was that. You might say something smart on your way out, but you might just as easily say something stupid. For the record, Eddie's final words would be, "Get back!" Here are the sounds of Eddie's last minutes on Earth. Waves crashing, the distant thump of rock music, the whirring engine of a small biplane dragging an ad from its tail, and this. Oh my God, look! Eddie felt his eyes dart beneath his lids. Over the years, he had come to know every noise at Ruby Pier and could sleep through them all like a lullaby. This voice was not in the lullaby. Oh my God, look! Eddie bolted upright. A woman with fat, dimpled arms was holding a shopping bag and pointing and screaming. A small crowd gathered around her, their eyes to the skies. Eddie saw it immediately, atop Freddy's Freefall, the new tower drop attraction. One of the carts was tilted at an angle as if trying to dump its cargo. 4 passengers, 2 men, 2 women, held only by a safety bar, were grabbing frantically at anything they could. "Oh my God," the fat woman yelled. "Those people, they're gonna fall." A voice squawked from the radio on Eddie's belt. "Eddie! Eddie!" He pressed the button. "I see it. Get security." People ran up from the beach, pointing as if they had practiced this drill. "Look! Up in the sky! An amusement ride turned evil!" Eddie grabbed his cane and clomped to the safety fence around the platform base. His wad of keys jangling against his hip. His heart was racing. Freddy's free fall was supposed to drop 2 carts in a stomach-churning descent, only to be halted at the last instant by a gush of hydraulic air. How did one cart come loose like that? It was tilted just a few feet below the upper platform, as if it had started downward, then changed its mind. Eddie reached the gate and had to catch his breath. Dominguez came running and nearly banged into him. "Listen to me," Eddie said, grabbing Dominguez by his shoulders. His grip was so tight, Dominguez made a pained face. "Listen to me." "Who's up there?" "Willie." "Okay, he must have hit the emergency stop. That's why the cart is hanging. Get up the ladder and tell Willie to manually release the safety restraint so those people can get out, okay? It's on the back of the cart, so you're going to have to hold him while he leans out there, okay? Then, the two of yous now, not one, you got it? The two of yous get them out. One holds the other. Got it? Got it? Dominguez nodded quickly. Then send that damn cart down so we can figure out what happened. Eddie's head was pounding. Although his park had been free of any major accidents, he knew the horror stories of his business. Once in Brighton, a bolt unfastened on a gondola ride, and 2 people fell to their death. Another time, in Wonderland Park, a man had tried to walk across a roller coaster track. He fell through and got stuck beneath his armpits. He was wedged in, screaming, and the cars came racing toward him, and, well, that was the worst. Eddie pushed that from his mind. There were people all around him now, hands over their mouths, watching Dominguez climb the ladder. Eddie tried to remember the insides of Freddy's free fall. Engine, cylinders, hydraulics, seals, cables. How does a cart come loose? He followed the ride visually, from the 4 frightened people at the top, down the towering shaft and into the base. Engine, cylinders, hydraulics, seals, cables. Dominguez reached the upper platform. He did as Eddie told him, holding Willie as Willie leaned toward the back of the cart to release the restraint. One of the female riders lunged for Willie and nearly pulled him off the platform. The crowd gasped. "Wait," Eddie said to himself. Willie tried again. This time, he popped the safety release. "Cable," Eddie mumbled. The bar lifted and the crowd went, "Ah!" The riders were quickly pulled to the platform. The cable is unraveling, and Eddie was right. Inside the base of Freddy's free fall, hidden from view, the cable that lifted cart number 2 had, for the last few months, been scraping across a locked pulley. Because it was locked, the pulley had gradually ripped the cable's steel wires, as if husking an ear of corn, until they were nearly severed. No one noticed. How could they notice? Only someone who had crawled inside the mechanism would have seen the unlikely cause of the problem. The pulley was wedged by a small object that must have fallen through the opening at a most precise moment. A car key. "Don't release the cart," Eddie yelled. He waved his arms. Hey, it's the cable. Don't release the cart. It'll snap." The crowd drowned him out. It cheered wildly as Willie and Dominguez unloaded the final rider. All 4 were safe. They hugged atop the platform. "Dom! Willie!" Eddie yelled. Someone banged against his waist, knocking his walkie-talkie to the ground. Eddie bent to get it. Willie went to the controls. He put his finger on the green button. Eddie looked up. No, 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 don't! Eddie turned to the crowd. Get back! Something in Eddie's voice must have caught the people's attention. They stopped cheering and began to scatter. An opening cleared around the bottom of Freddy's free fall, and Eddie saw the last face of his life. She was sprawled upon the ride's metal base, as if someone had knocked her into it, her nose running, tears filling her eyes, the little girl with the pipe cleaner animal. Amy? Annie? Mom! Mom! She heaved, almost rhythmically, her body frozen in the paralysis of crying children. Mom! Mom! Eddie's eyes shot from her to the carts. Did he have time? Her to the carts. Whoomp! Too late. The carts were dropping. Jesus, he released the brake, and for Eddie, everything slipped into watery motion. He dropped his cane and pushed off his bagged leg and felt a shot of pain that almost knocked him down. A big step. Another step. Inside the shaft of Freddy's free fall, the cable snapped its final thread and ripped across the hydraulic line. Cart number 2 was in a dead drop now. Nothing to stop it. A boulder off a cliff. In those final moments, Eddie seemed to hear the whole world. Distant, screaming waves. Music, a rush of wind, a low, loud, ugly sound that he realized was his own voice blasting through his chest. The little girl raised her arms. Eddie lunged. His bad leg buckled. He half flew, half stumbled toward her, landing on the metal platform, which ripped through his shirt and split open his skin, just beneath the patch that read, Eddie and maintenance. He felt 2 hands in his own, 2 small hands. A stunning impact, a blinding flash of light, and then nothing. Today is Eddie's birthday. It is the 1920s, a crowded hospital in one of the poorest sections of the city. Eddie's father smokes cigarettes in the waiting room where the other fathers are also smoking cigarettes. The nurse enters with a clipboard. She calls his name. She mispronounces it. The other men blow smoke. Well? He raises his hand. Congratulations, the nurse says. He follows her down the hallway to the newborn's nursery. His shoes clap on the floor. Wait here, she says. Through the glass, he sees her check the number of the wooden cribs. She moves past one. Not his. Another. Not his. Another. Not his. Another. Not his. She stops. There, beneath the blanket, a tiny head covered in a blue cap. She checks her clipboard again, then points. The father breathes heavily, nods his head. For a moment, his face seems to crumble like a bridge collapsing into a river. Then he smiles. His. And that is the end of chapter 1.